Hello. Yes. Hello, everyone. How's it going? Welcome to another beautiful live with Super Team Vietnam. And today we've got some real OGs in the space, right? Um, you know, who need no introduction really, but I think it'll be great for you guys to share a little bit about your backgrounds, a little bit about yourself before we get into the questions. But yeah, really a pleasure to have you guys here. And yeah, so who wants to start? I don't know who I'm gonna put on the stage first, huh? Dan, do you want to start?
Yeah, absolutely, that's fine. Yeah, so I'm Dan HIBELL. I'm known as CryptoBlock Dan. I've been around in crypto since 2013, full time since 2021, and I was very early into NFTs, CryptoKitties in 2017. So I've worked for Yield Go Games for 3 years. I was the director of asset management for the last year when I was there, and now I am a independent advisor and consultant to Web3 gaming companies and a complete and utter degen who goes into pretty much anything and everything. So that's me.
Thank you, Dan. And Pete.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. Absolute pleasure. I love these live events, and I think the video aspect of doing these ones is perfect. But yeah, so I'm Repeat. I'm known in quite a few circles within Web3 gaming. I was one of the, I suppose, first team members of the COOLCATS team back in the OG days of 2021. I've worked for gaming companies like HABBO, for example, over at Azurian. Done some consultancy for a few different teams. I was the marketing lead over at the Grapes before that kind of changed over. And then I'm now the founder of something that's completely new and being built at the moment called Soakers. So I've kind of moved over to founder status now, which is very interesting, super exciting. But yeah, been in the space since 2020. Absolutely, just love the vibes, all the community, strengths and everything else that keep pushing the different teams. So conversations like this, absolutely love it, and I'm looking forward to doing a deep dive with you gents on the subjects today for gaming, monetization, communities, all the rest of it. So yeah,
Amazing.
Happy to be here.
Thank you guys. Yeah, I think for today, I think it's really interesting because I think we've got a very wide range of expertise here on the floor today, and I think with I kind of want to unpack a little bit of the challenges. Later on, we'll look into the taboo things that people don't like to speak about within the gaming space, because I know between you guys, there's been a lot of different experiences that you've had with various amount of different projects, etc. But I think, the first question that I would like to sort of put forward is, what do you think is the biggest pitfalls or challenges that a company has with Web3 gaming as a whole, and in terms of getting the right product market fit? Yeah, that's sort of the first question I wanna throw you guys' way.
I mean, I can jump in first if you're happy with that, Dan. But for me, like the different teams that I've been on, I think that the major thing that's been kind of jumped out at me is the accessibility. making things really easy for people to gain access to, whether it's like 1 click, 2 click, 3 click, whatever it is. And the more that you have to do to get to a thing, the less then people are interested in doing it. So like Dan said, about his, degen vibes, degens don't like to click a thing, and especially on like Telegram, for example, right? You've got a lot of these Telegram games, which are literally you're in and you're firing, boom, 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 boom. So, that for me is one of the things, is like ease of accessibility. And then within Web3, you've got a lot of tech savvy people that are in Web3, which is great. But there's also a lot of people that aren't tech savvy that were trying to get into Web3. And then the technical elements of it are then what makes it difficult, I think. And a lot of teams, and technology is progressing. It is definitely within Web3, but I don't think we're still at that point at the moment where the tech level is at such where you don't have to do a lot of research to get involved, right? So, for example, everyone knows how to play Fortnite. Everyone knows, V-Bucks within Fortnite is part of that ecosystem. You click, you play, you buy, that's it, right? At that moment, we haven't got that stage. I think that's super, super easy, that everyone has that knowledge to get involved. So for me, that's the main thing. And then with that, you then have, to your point about, trying to link with the different audiences and stuff. I think those 2 points are then key and vital to then the audience that you're trying to reach, and trying to mold whatever project that you're building then around that audience to then gain that ease of access, gain that knowledge that you're trying to reach with those different audiences, and then what that means from the game or the experience that you're building, or indeed the storytelling that you're trying to do at the same time as well. So all of that interlinks with then the finished product.
Oh yeah,
together.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. I think, yeah, especially with companies that come from a Web2 background coming into Web3, I think one thing that I feel like they need to understand more is that bringing Web2 users into Web3 is the goal, right? Is to bring more user adoption, ease of accessibility. I think definitely one of the huge problems we have is our UI, UX, and just creating a seamless experience, and also having a lot of different ways to incentivize the users. And I think that's where the Web3 element comes in, So I think that, there's the Web2 side of things, which is almost like the base. But the way I like to see Web3 with gaming is like a layer on top, additional incentives, additional ways for users to monetize and be able to generate revenue throughout the games and become a part of the communities, etc. But Dan, I'd love to hear your opinion on that, and what you think.
Absolutely. It's a very interesting topic, and I'm sure we can probably talk for a long time about this, if I'm honest.
For sure.
Because the honest answer is, has anyone got this right yet? Probably not. And even taking out the blockchain element, the NFT element, whatever, making a game's hard. You either make it indie or you go very big and you have to have experience. Like I saw hundreds of founders raising funds after the hype of like Axie. So like over the year to 2 years after the top of Axie, I saw lots and lots from wide-ranging teams building on Telegram, building on little app games, to ridiculously high-end up to like EVE Online and that sort of stuff. Limit Break raised 200 million, and we haven't seen anything in 3 years, as an example.
Yeah.
So, and it's coming. But a lot of this is going to take a long time to do. Like I was often known as the bad guy in a lot of our calls, the person who would be a bit more straight faced to these people, and
the guy with the truth bombs.
Yeah, well, as the easiest question was, why are you building on this? Why do you want to use blockchain? Why do you want to use NFTs? Why? And if they were honest with them, it was a much easier way of raising funds at the time than what it was in the traditional. But then again, some things are successful, some are not. I love blockchain. Like, I came in from a cyberpunk sort of thing. I love decentralization and everything and that sort of stuff. And that's where I think they're really successful when we eventually get there. There are a load of games who are making like this, a lot of teams who are making fully decentralized games eventually, and they are trying to get rid of publishers, as an example, and just literally have the game developers and the players, and there's no one in the middle there. But it's how you balance the economies and everything. It's just like mind-blowing. And anyone who even friends of mine who are charging people lots and lots and lots as like experts in the field, again, no one's really had it right. Like, a lot of people are saying they were involved with like early Axie, and you look at the tokenomics of that, and it was a great flywheel until it wasn't, and then whoosh, collapse, and whoa, what are we doing now? And it's always going to have the problem. Like, every game can be hacked, exploited. People try and get the value out of these games, and then you bring in blockchain, and you can't roll anything back. It's just like,
exactly. Yeah.
Why are we doing this? So there's yeah. Sorry, I've probably gone off on a lot.
No. You've actually segued. You've segued perfectly.
It's really difficult.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree, and you've actually segued perfectly into one of my next questions, which is, play to earn, right? Is it fundamentally flawed, or can it ever work without being a Ponzi scheme, essentially? That's my next question.
Yeah, I can head first if you want. Like,
yeah, please do.
The Ponzinomics, as we like to say, always going to be there. Again, I don't think that's ever going to go. You pay to win in quite a lot of games, but you are essentially trying to do it. Will it ever go away? Maybe. But where's the value coming from to give to the players is probably, like, in the current state of all these games, you have got someone has to lose for you to win is usually the way of this.
That's the market. Yeah.
and if that's right, that because you are a good player and you're using skill to win against someone who's not a good player. This is what happens in online poker and things. This is essentially what it is. But is that where we want to go, or do you want to be like a grind 8 hours and earn $10 because that's kind of what you can do? And again, it worked. It drives hype, and it's really quite interesting. But I don't know. Can it ever work? Potentially, yeah. But I think it needs integration with a lot of things. It needs tournaments. It needs high-end competitive play. But again, even competitive gaming in every sort of sense, esports companies go bust all the time. So it's even that isn't ideal either.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's down to the founders of these projects, right? And then also the types of communities that they're onboarding. What is the message that they're actually pushing to these communities? And is it something where you're in it for a quick buck? Are you just a yield farmer? Or are you actually a community member that will add value to the community as well? Because I think that, in order to build a sustainable community, you have to also have an opportunity for your community to benefit from adding value to what you're building. And I think that if you look at, so what certain projects have done previously, and even a lot of blockchains and blockchain projects, the way that they run is sort of through the communities and through the developer communities, through the investment communities, and allowing them to basically step foot and make the next step forward for innovation. But Pete, I know that, your view with this is very strong as well, and your view is very strong in terms of giving value to the user and actually creating value first rather than extracting value first. And I think that I'd love you to chime in on that one as well and sort of share your opinion.
Yeah, sure. I think it's a really interesting one because the Web3 space, especially, right, is very split between what value means. Because, like, you've got two types of value. You have the investment in money, and then you also have the investment in time, right? And then for some people, you have the both in for time and money. And I think especially with the gaming side of things is then how you build out your product essentially then to your different target audience again that you're looking at. So for example, right, if you get like a deep gamer, well, what do gamers love? They love an experience, they love lore, they love history, they love looking at a thing, reading about a thing, and enjoying a thing. Whereas someone that's investing money, well, they just want the investment out of it. They want the money out of it. They don't want to spend time, doing anything. So, realistically, that then gives you two very different products that you kind of, need to look at creating. And I think this is then the issue is because most of the time, what you'd really need to do is generate both, so that you've got that kind of angle for both sides. But at the moment, there seems to be a lot of products or a lot of projects that want to hit with the monetary side first, right? So they're putting out, NFTs, they're putting out tokens, they're building out this, tokenomic side of things, whereas the gaming element of it and the actual product and community side is then very difficult to kind of build out because you don't have the history or experience that then goes with the monetization model around what you're doing. So yes, to your point, I think having a product that people can enjoy to begin with, be that a very basic game or some sort of lore or something like a story to get involved in, so that the gamers and people that want to be there for the experience can have that side of it, and then bring maybe the monetary side and the ecosystem after you've got like that community model, then builds out this larger image for VCs and investors to have a look at actually what's been built behind the scenes before the monetary side kind of comes into play, or before it strongly comes into play. So there's a few different elements that you could look at for this, but I think from my experience, it's always been kind of hitting with the money stuff first and build the experience afterwards, which kind of worked in the early stages because you had the community that kind of pushed around it. So like, for example, when I was working over at COOLCATS, we had the NFT side of things. We built Cooltopia. There was a small, game that came with that. We had Milk, we had Cool Pets. And then we looked at then kind of like the IRL experience, which was, if you go back to NFT NYC back in 2021, we did this huge IRL event in New York. It was massive. Like, go and have a look on Google and Twitter. It's big. And I think stuff like that is super important to bring communities into that experience. So yeah, that's how I would build it out anyway.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's different things you have to look at as well, right? Because there's from my opinion, I think there's also the reality of where the space is at currently as well. Because I think also being a vet in the space, first of all, I know you guys have seen things come and go, build up and fall, and also you have to look at also the users and the user base, the types of user base majority that are in Web3. And I think um you have to also understand what their incentives are. And I think that's why incentive structures are super important as well, to bake into things like the law, things like the community, the value from that community. I think that that's basically the secret sauce in my opinion. If you have the right incentive structures and then also have a very rich community which can also feed into each other, build and grow together, I think that's a recipe for success, definitely. Now, since you guys have seen many things build and fall, um, my question is, in the space currently now, what do you think is the project that is super overhyped or somewhat the biggest scam at the moment? And don't be afraid, it's okay, it's a safe space. We can be raw in this live today, and just let the truth be set free. Now, who wants to go first?
well, outside of gamings, I'm not hopeful on PFP projects at all. That's probably an easy one.
That's gone and dead. Yeah.
If I'm honest, I think that they've had their day. I can throw some shade at some chains if that's an easy way of doing it. So you've already seen pretty much Polygon's lost pretty much every kind of high-profile game which was on the Pixels went to Ronin, Fableborn's gone to Ronin, a whole host of other one. I'm not that impressed with like IMX. I think what they put out is, from what I hear, their tech is very good, but I don't think it's valued at what it is. I think that's ridiculous for what they do, if I'm honest. If you put on the flip side, I actually think Ronin is relatively undervalued, but again, I come from Axie in 2018, so there's no doubt there's a little bit of bias that I'll always like Axie because I was around in the early days, and so and I'm very fortunate, and from Axie I literally catapulted myself up. So yeah, I'll always say there's a bit of favoritism there, but I really like AVAX. I think there's some very undervalued chains as well, and undervalued ones like projects, games. I don't know what's not brought anything out. You can like there's the games who raised years ago and haven't done much. Like you look at things like Ember Sword is probably a good example. Like I can remember them in 2018. And they raised in 2019, I think, and maybe 2021, and then the
I think that's a huge point.
And the game's meh, and the token's worth meh. It's just, okay, where do we go from there? And
yeah,
I actually think that actually brings up a wider point as well. And I talked to some friends of mine about this. If you go down a token route as a single token, which I actually think is the right way rather than multi tokens, if you launch your token, it's very difficult to have it up again. You literally get one chance at this, and if you mess it up, and sometimes you can do everything right, and then the market, and then you get people who launch and they do something brand new, and it actually goes very, very well, and it's like, wow, well, like if you look at Pixels as an example like that, they launched a really good time. Crazy market. Even now it's high compared to where it was, and then you look at some really good projects and the token is just dead, and you're like, okay, well, what now? And then what we're going to do? Node sale. Yeah, let's do nodes. Let's go and do some node sales, and it's like, why? What are you trying to do? And so that's like I've probably hurled abuse at chains more than the games, but that's just an easy one.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. I think a lot of it is definitely overhyped. And guys, if you're building out a game, if you're building out a project, have it built before you want to push out your communities, push out sales and anything, right? I think long gone is the time where you can promise a bunch of stuff and not deliver on it, right? I mean, yes, you can build out communities initially and shape the project, but have something built before you do it. So you're not pushing timeframes back, saying you're going to do airdrop, saying you're going to release the game at a certain date. Everyone's waiting for it and it doesn't happen, right? So I think that's definitely a huge thing that is not to be slept on. Ensure that you have all of your stones unturned before you actually make a move and actually push things out. That's very, very important. Especially at launch, because as Dan has said today, launch is extremely vital, right? Getting that launch done correctly, extremely vital. But yeah, Pete, I'd love to hear your opinion and get some shade thrown on a few projects and then
Oh man, so for me, I think the AI boom, right, that is super hype at the moment. And that inflicts in pretty much every single industry that you can think of right now. It's both exciting and worrying, because for some jobs, AI will end up replacing it at some point. What does that mean? What does that look like? No one knows. But that's also the issue, because AI pretty much is in its infancy at the moment. It is, right? It is pretty much Google search and ChatBT on hype. That's kind of where we're at the moment. But I think realistically with that, it is going to change up gaming as we know it. It's going to change up every other industry as we know it as it progresses. But at the moment, because it's so early stages, it's a very, just be careful, do your research on the stuff that you get into. There's 1,000,001 different ones that are coming out on loads of different chains at the moment. You've got the virtuals guys that have their platform. You've got the AI16Z team or Z team, however you want to pronounce it, that are doing their thing as well. Two of the major guys. And it's just a very, very, it's the industry to watch, because a lot of cool stuff is going to come out from it, but at the same time there's going to be some scamming going on.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's going to be some crazy money grabs, and it's all starting, right? So just that for me is probably one of the biggest things at the moment, in like what is happening out there. But yeah, it's gonna bring a lot of changes.
Talking about AI, I was very, again, I get early into things often, so I was relatively early into like AI agents and the hype back in November and December. As I actually know the virtuals team from years ago, because they were originally in a Axie Guild.
I did Roblox as well, right?
Where they originated from, and I actually got a Twitter DM from the virtuals account back in June or July of last year, asking if I wanted to be an investor in their round, and because they weren't a verified account, it just went to my, and I just completely
you just found it in the spam. This is what it's like to be an OG, guys. This is
well, I hardly answer anything on X anyway, because it's just a much easier way to prevent yourself from being fish. But anyway, that's a but like I think you're totally right. AI and AI agents, we do a lot of playing around with early tech in our industry and sort of doing all the groundwork until something somehow which are really cool and are actually really quite valuable. I think the tech of quite a lot of the AI agents is pretty cool. Why
agreed.
They are worth X and Y and Z is unknown. Like some of the valuations for
completely overvalued.
Fartcoin and AI, whatever it's called, AI 16 XYZ, whatever it was.
Yeah.
and look, I'm not heavily invested in them, but I've got very large incentives that if they do well, I'm going to do well. So like I know the Vader team quite well. I've known Mete, the founder of Vader, for probably 2 or 3 years now. I think he's very good. I think he's great in AI. So I saw that straight away. So I went into Vader. That's what, and I'm happy to have an allocation and to basically trust that outside of the value of the Vader token, I think they are going to build and just do really quite well from there. I would actually rather have some sort of equity in the company, if I'm honest. But anyway, that's an aside.
That's a side mission.
Rather than the token. But yeah, there's like AI in games is coming. Like Parallel Colony, which is a part of the Prime ecosystem, is going to be very, very large one of this. And I think pretty much anyone is looking at using AI in games. I think AI Arena is like an old company, which is quite cool. And they are very much now leveraging their tech to put in AI into game to help around real players in quite a few games. So again, there's some really quite tech. There's some really quite cool tech coming out.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly what that means. But again, as soon as these things come in, some very clever people are going to make automated hots to farm the AI to then extract as much value out of all these things. So
we're seeing that already.
It'll be AI against AI.
Yeah, 100%. I think that the only way you can beat AI is with more AI, right?
Yeah,
and then it becomes Inception. But I'm very big on AI. I love the AI space, and I think the industry standard that we have now is quite low, to be honest with you. You know, I've seen a lot of agent platforms come out with just chatbots, and just, you know, you're not actually getting stuff done. It doesn't actually add value to what people are doing and give them the ability to achieve and execute on tasks that they would do on their day-to-day. So I don't see it, that side of AI becoming big. And I see, obviously, there's a lot of capital flowing into the space with AI and using buzzwords like deepin, RWA, blah blah blah, right? But I think that aside from the buzzwords and aside from the money grab, right? I think it's looking at how can it actually help people perform tasks that they would do on a day-to-day more efficiently, more quickly, and essentially be able to become more efficient from it. And if it's not that type of AI, personally, I'm not very much so interested. You know, the meme space, etc., stuff like that. It's not interesting unless you're actually looking to add additional value. And yeah, I think with AI, if it's not used for that, it's just a buzzword, it's just a money grab, and it's just put into the slot with the rest of them that are just basically following the trends within the space. Because, you know, it's crazy the amount of companies I've seen with the AI element over the past couple months or a month or so. And you know, I've been building in the AI space for many years now. Before it was a buzzword, before it was, you know, a big thing. And I think that yeah, you know, it's looking at the that how can you actually implement value into that. But yeah, on to my next question. I'd like to sort of go over and explain Web3 gaming as a whole. So my question to you guys is, if you were to speak to your grandmother, right, or your lovely little nephew or niece, right, and they went to you, Papa, what is Web3 gaming? What would you guys say?
I'd say, first of all, epic impression. Like,
Thank you. Many
that
more
was
to come.
decent.
And by the way, I know that with Super Team Vietnam, guys, we have a soundboard on the StreamYard. We need to activate this soundboard because I am one for the sounds. just a note. But yeah, guys, how would you explain Web3 gaming to someone who's very new to the space? Either your grandmother or a young person that is interested in this thing. What is Web3 gaming?
Yeah, I can. In an ideal world, it is this. It's probably the right answer. So, like, if you try and explain that you play games and then you are, it's always interesting because you have to almost frame it for a Western audience and then other audiences as well. If you frame it for Western audiences, people in Europe, people in the America, say, who are happy to pay a premium for a game just for enjoyment. They are paying $40, $100, whatever it is, to play a game for enjoyment. They have zero concept at the end of them playing that game that they could get anything out of the game back other than selling it on eBay if it was a full-on disc. So you almost have to say, but if you had your Fortnite items and you could then resell it properly and blah 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 blah. And I think that's kind of an easy concept for people to understand, but that's literally just like skins in game, which is actually, I still think, is a very good use case for blockchain in Web3 gaming. If you eliminate everything else, or tokens and blah blah blah, everything else like that, and you can try and explain that the gems and diamonds in Clash of Clans could be a tradable currency, and then you could do it like that. But again, it's very difficult to understand. If you try and explain it to people from, say, Philippines, Venezuela, easiest way is to give the example of like Axie and say, look, at in the heyday of Axie, there were people who were playing a game, and you were able to
Make a living.
earn more, and it was supplementing your lifestyle, and the craziness. There were people who were quitting their in real life jobs to play Axie full time. It's just like mind boggling to see. But I was obviously a part of that. I worked for YGG. I had scholars in Brazil, Venezuela, and everywhere else, and it was wild. And you could really see what this could be and what it can be. And you like, I don't particularly like the term, but even actually uses a term that the actual company uses. Play for rice is a company, is like a tagline in the voting network and like Axie, and so that's how you would try and do. But like the massive high level of this one is trying to sell them on the advantages of decentralization and exactly why we want to do it through a decentralized nature. But that's very difficult because, again, unless we have an example, and it may take another 5 years until EVE Online comes out as EVE Frontier with whatever it is, and that. But again, even the hardcore gaming community, a lot of people don't like EVE and don't play EVE because it's so intense and stuff. A lot of people are much more hyper casual and casual gamers, so it's very difficult.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. It's not an easy one. I'm sorry, I got to throw it over to you, Pete.
No, it's a great question, and I think this kind of goes into the point that I was saying earlier, like making something super easy to understand, super easy, like accessible. But yeah, I funny enough, I was talking to someone about this the other day. Like, what is Web3? You know, what is gaming within Web3? How do you determine it from other games that are out there? And essentially, it's just giving you true ownership of your digital assets. Right, whether that's like you say, a skin, whether that's like I don't know, like a weapon or something like that. But say for example, like Fortnite, you got your V-Bucks, you buy your skins and everything else. Well, that in-game currency, V-Bucks, once you own it, you can't really do anything with it other than buy stuff in-game. However, Web3, giving you the true ownership of your assets is, yes, you can buy your extra skins with it, but once you own that V-Bucks, you can also turn that into other currencies if you wanted to, or you can do whatever you wanted to with that currency when you've got it, right? So it then transforms it from being this only in-game aspect to then it gives you access to an entire ecosystem outside of that game that you're playing. And then that just opens up the door to lots of other things that you can do. But it's that true ownership of your digital assets, whatever that might be. So it just expands on that gaming experience, expands on what you can do as a gamer in other avenues within Web3. So it just builds on absolutely everything. So it kind of takes that aspect, and then when you then try and grow out that explanation of what it then means with those digital assets, that's when it gets complicated. But within Web3, just gives you that ownership of your digital assets.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think 100%. What you said is 1000% valid, and it goes back to making it as simple as possible, right? It's about making it as simple as possible for the users, but also onboarding them in a way that is essentially Web 2. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing. Even people coming from Web 2 going into Web 3, they're thinking it's this whole big new thing that we have to make a whole new business model and everything. But no, it's about adding value on top of what you're doing already, right?
I think a lot of it as well is essentially finding your tribe, right? With the whole like community thing, getting involved in the community side, talking to people of equal minds in Discord, Twitter, whatever it might be. And I think that's a really big aspect to it as well. And I know you still get those with the Web 2 side, but the Web 3 side of the community is I would term it just so much stronger. I can't really describe it, but Web3 people, they have just like this huge passion basically when it comes to what they're investing their time and money in. And I think, yeah, once you find your tribe as well, it then becomes a whole different experience. And it's not then just about the game, it's about the community and what that community is doing, both individually and together. And it's whether that's, you know, helping them out, whether that's, you know, showing them, I don't know, the way, or explaining things to them, or maybe getting them interested in something, like a different project or something like that that they might be interested in. It just, the whole vibe is very, very different.
100%. Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, it's definitely like a one big family thing. And I think that that's what's completely different. And yeah, that's definitely the strong point. And yeah, definitely agreed. Now, my next question is, if you could go back in time, right, and stop one Web3 gaming trend from happening, what would it be? Oh, I can see this. Okay, I can see this. I can see this.
That's a difficult question.
I think loading.
I would love to go back and tell everyone that you aren't the next Axie. I saw that tagline in probably 1,000 decks. We are the next Axie is pretty much, which is just ridiculous.
Oh yeah. How can you ever recreate something that happened so organically and grew so quickly, right?
I think the thing is, right, when you look at sort of questions like that, a lot of the stuff that happens in Web3, be it good or bad, is a learning curve, right? But also at the same time, it then leads to new ideas, new inventions, new, you know, IP, new brands, and a new way of doing things out of the mistakes and errors that were made. I mean, within that, people have lost a lot of money. They've lost a lot of time, obviously, with the scams and all the crap that happens as well. But on the plus side of that, it then means that we were able to increase security. We're able to, you know, increase, you know, new ideas and growth, technology, all the rest of it. So the bad things that happened, yeah, it's awful. But at the same time, you know, we were all able to learn from it and progress in the right way. So, yeah, I think to Dan's point, yeah, there should be a hold on people saying they're the next whatever it might be, because you know, essentially that's just copying stuff that's already happened, and the whole idea is that you want something new, you want a new experience, you want
definitely pave your own way.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. No, completely agreed. And just before we get wrapping up here, or as we get wrapping up here, I would love for you guys to sort of share some closing remarks and, you know, a message for the people. You know, we've got a lot of builders here joining us in this live. And, you know, what's the message to the builders in the space? What's your message to, you know, people that are looking to build and grow across the gaming industry within Web3 and traditionally? Yeah, just closing remarks, and also anything that you guys wanna share before we wrap up here.
I'd say take your time, chill, right? The industry is going to be here. It's not going anywhere. That. Yeah. Take your time, build it right, build it in the right way, build it for the community that makes the most sense to you. I think a lot of builders and projects, you know, they rush to get a thing out. And as you were saying, you know, earlier, Keaton, that you've got, you know, things that aren't ready, you miss timeframes, you miss deadlines, people get annoyed, they get frustrated. Token values drop, NFTs drop, tokenomics goes all over the place. Build it slow, build it right. Keep in contact with your community. Let them know what's happening. Do stuff for your community. It doesn't necessarily have to be all around, you know, the products that you're building. You can do different experiences. And at the end of the day, you know, it is the community in this space that makes the space. So, you know, I think building it all right is going to keep everyone happy, and it's going to keep your team happy as well. And it's going to keep those creative juices flowing, you know, as well. So I think for me, that's what I would do. Just take your time, get it right, and then everyone's going to be happy with, you know, the different things that are created. And also then listen to your community as well. There's a lot of very, very talented people out there in the space that can, you know, help in what you're doing, and the, you know, the information that they give as well, and, you know, the community vibe that's out there, I think is key and into how things are progressed as well. But that's what I would say. And touch grass. It's important to get out there as well, and unplug from time to time. Dan, I will pass it over to you, my friend.
Thank you so much, Pete. Thank you.
Yes. Like it probably depends on what kind of company you are and your level of financing. If you come from a traditional Web2 gaming background with a huge back catalog and very successful, and you've just raised a ridiculous amount of funds, and you're in a much different situation than someone who's scrapping to raise funds and to organically grow things as like an indie studio. You should be lean, you need to be agile, you need to be honestly, you can't be set in your ways, where we are in an industry which changes so rapidly it's ridiculous. What was right a month ago is not right now. Committing to chains is hard. I know you can be committed to chains because they can help you with grants and that sort of stuff, and that's very helpful and it's really good. But you need to be very careful with a lot of this. So, almost echoing what Pete was saying, you need to be careful. You need to take your time and have a real think why you are trying to do this. What are you trying to solve? What is the unique selling point of what you have got? Are you just a reskinned Axie, and are you going to compete? Are you trying to build a AAA shooter which is going to compete against the massive big boys? Like, I'm quite bearish on like off the grid as an example, who have raised lots. The game's really good and so, but it's the real bottom line is they're competing against huge heavyweight titles, and how are they going to take mind share from traditional gamers? Because realistically, the gamers in Web3 gaming isn't enough. There's just not enough of us to make a point. We need to be bringing people over to actually, and it's not the tag of Web3 gaming shouldn't be there. It should just be gaming, basically, because that's what it is, and that's what we should be aiming towards. With like I'm super futuristically looking that eventually it'll all just be integrated with blockchain and your own items, and you can trade it wherever you want to do and that sort of stuff. And again, the protection to get is going to improve a lot as we sort of move on. So the takeaway would be lean, agile, and take your time.
100%. And I think one thing that I would love to add as a takeaway before we wrap up here, first of all, thank you guys so much for joining us and sharing your expertise, opinions, and yeah, I think from me, I think the takeaway is, eliminate as much guesswork as possible. That's what I would say, because a lot of founders, when they're building, even if they get capital in, it's like, what are you going to do with that capital? Why do you need capital? And also, what is your roadmap and what is the outcome that you're going to get? And I would say, eliminate as much guesswork as possible and know what these things are so that you can ensure your success. Because I've seen a lot of founders that have raised millions and, along their journey, actually spent millions doing things that should be way cheaper, way more cost effective, if they actually thought ahead and actually said, okay, I'm not going to guess what will happen and what is next. I'm going to know. So that's what I would like to share. Eliminate as much guesswork as possible and take your time, as Pete said as well. So yeah, thank you guys for joining us today. It's been a really incredible chat. And where can they find you guys?
So yeah, myself, you can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, and you can find the Soka's pages there as well. All the links are in the bios. You can join our Discord. Get ready for notifications as we go live. So all brand new. But yeah, you can always hit me up on a message there. And you know, free to have a chat with anyone in the space really, to help out. You know, where possible. We're all in this together.
Thank you, and Dan.
You absolutely, yeah. Thank you very much for having us. This has been excellent. So, I'm on pretty much every social platform you can find. So, again, if you find me on X at CryptoBlockDan, I'm active on LinkedIn. I'm currently trying to growth hack my LinkedIn profile, which is a nice little side hobby at the moment. So I'm active on Telegram, Discord. I'm in pretty much all the old Discords, and I'm active pretty much everywhere. My advisory company's website is getting retooled at the moment, so that's going to be there. But happy to talk to help out with the projects from there. In person, I'll be at GDC from a week on Saturday. I'm going to be there for a week, hanging out quite often in the Wolvesdow den because I'm a active member of Wolvesdow and having private meetings while I'm there and attending things and try not to drink as much as what I probably will do. Unfortunately, I'll be trying to drink as many Americans underneath the table, which is essentially how it goes if you're like an old Englishman. It's kind of a bit of a challenge, but I'll be other than that, I'll probably be at Token 2049. I'm going to NFC, probably Gamescom and KBW, and hopefully sometime over in Vietnam. I would love to come over to Vietnam as well. So yeah, awesome.
Thank you guys, and myself. It's been Keishon Rigg from Foundation Ventures, and yeah, really a great pleasure to have you guys here and to collaborate with Super Team Vietnam for this live. So it's been a pleasure, and just wrapping up here and wishing you guys the best of luck with all your projects. And let's go, let's crush it. Thank you guys.
Thanks very much, everyone. Cheers for tuning in all.
See you. Bye-bye.
Yep. Thank you very much.